Hi there, Phil Simborg, USBGF Teaching Pro. I was at the New York Metro Open Tournament last weekend, and I have the good fortune of having some time to watch. I had about 8 or 9 of my students there, and I had plenty of time to watch them because I got knocked out of the tournament fairly early, although I did have a couple of great victories against some top players. But one of the advantages when I lose is I get to spend time working with my students. And one of my students didn't lose. Tuvia Felt won the Masters. I'm very excited about that. And I was watching him and several other students in my spare time and talking about different plays and positions. And one student made a classic error, and we talked about it. And I had given him a lesson on early game play. And one of the main things I talk about in early game play is there are 3 things you ask yourself, and I'm talking about after the opening move, on the second move, third move, fourth move. Those are pretty much what I consider the early game play. You ask yourself, can I hit, can I make a point, and can I play safely or strategically? In that order. You usually look to hit first, if you can, and then you look to make a point if you can, and then play safely or strategically. And usually that's right. Not every time, of course. So to illustrate the point first, and then we'll get into the mistake that I saw him make. If your opponent opens with a slot of your bar and you rolled a 4-2, you've got a dilemma. Should I hit or make the point? Well, according to my list of hierarchy, it's better to hit than to make the point. In Extreme Gammon, if you just hit the button, we'll verify that. It is better to hit. The only exception, the only time you wouldn't hit this checker is if you could hit this checker, for example, with a 6-3, you would hit this checker instead of this checker. And the other example, the only other exception is with a 3-1. Making the 5 point is so big, and if you hit with the 3-1, you leave yourself vulnerable to being hit back so much that you're better off only with the 3-1 to make the point instead of hitting. You can see that hitting is a pretty substantial error, about 0.046 error. That's pretty big for an error on the opening move. So with that thought in mind, he had carried it a little bit too far. His opponent had rolled an opening 5-4 and made this play, and he rolled a 4-1. Well, you can't make a point. You could play safely or strategically by moving safely down here, or strategically maybe by splitting or bringing a builder down. There's all kinds of strategic plays, but obviously the right answer is to hit. And you can't hit with the 4, so obviously you must hit with the 1, and that is correct. Now what do you do with the rest of the roll? He went ahead and hit off the ace point, and that's very wrong. He felt that if I can hit once is good, twice is better. And while that's true sometimes, it's not true in a situation like this, because you've got your checker in a wonderful place here. You don't get hit back. You're not favored to get hit back, and if you don't get hit back here, you can make your 5 point, which is the most important point on the board for you to be making, and it's just not worth the problem of it's not worth putting him up twice and hitting down low. So now I've spoken. Let's ask the backgammon god to speak, Extreme Gammon, and you'll see that it's wrong to hit twice by about 6%. The first best play is to bring it down, since you're attacking, have more covers. This checker is not that vulnerable. Yeah, you're going to be afraid he rolls a 5-4 and hits twice, but that's it. There's nothing else that hits twice, and if he hits once, you want to be able to hit back, and if he doesn't hit, you want to be able to have more numbers to cover. So you bring the checker down and play offensively in this situation, and it wouldn't be that terrible to split here. But going to the ace point, you see, is very, very wrong. And this is a very common mistake early in the game. I saw it in a chouette later in the same weekend. What about if he had rolled something else? Let's say he had an opening 3-2 and he split the 3 and brought the 2 down, and let's say you brought a 3-2. Again, what do you think is the right play? The right play, of course, is to hit. You don't want him to make this point. You don't want him to escape. You don't want him to be able to use this checker with a 6-1 or 6 or 4-1 to make this point or this point, and so you need to hit this checker with the 2. Where's the 3? He kept going, or many people keep going. Again, it's wrong. it's better to bring the checker down. It's the same theory, and hitting twice again is a pretty big error. So when would you hit twice on the second roll? There's only one time. If he splits with the 1, let's say he rolled a 2-1 opening or a 4-1 opening, and he splits with the 1, and you roll a 4-1. That's it. Now, in order to hit down here, your checker is already very, very low. The 2-point isn't that desirable. It isn't that much worse to make the 1 point than the 2 point, and you're better off putting 2 up than any other one that you have. Splitting right now is just not that critical. These checkers are not in threat of being in danger of being primed. So here you would hit twice. And again, you don't have to take my word for any of this. All you have to do is set up positions like I've just done using Extreme Gammon, which is what we recommend at the USBGF, and you can get a discount at buying it. Pardon me. Or you can do it on GNU or Snowy if you have those versions of software. All three of them will work, and all will show you not to hit twice on any of these plays except this particular position and situation. Now there is one other time you would hit twice. If your opponent has a 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, 4 and splits, and you roll a 6, 5, hitting twice is largely right because the 5 isn't that productive. If you just hit with the 6 here and bring another 5 down, you're stripping your midpoint. And you're stacking your 8 point too much. You don't want to be stripped or stacked, and you're sort of doing both when you bring the 5 down to here. And also, this checker gets hit back about 17 times, almost half the time, which is a lot. So here you would hit twice again. So that's about it for hitting twice on the second roll. If you see other situations to hit twice, it's often wrong. Now, there are exceptions. If your opponent plays a 4-3 up like this, there's lots of ways here where you would hit twice. Try a 2-1 here. Most people would be very shy about leaving 2 blots. Look at this. It would be a huge error to do anything but. This is certainly a situation where you would hit twice, but this is not a normal opening play for most people. By the way, I do make this play myself sometimes, depending on who I'm playing. When I'm on gammon save, when I am trying to make a high anchor, this gives me a good chance to make a high anchor, also because my opponents often don't know to hit twice with a 2-1 or a 3-2 would be the same thing, where you should hit twice. So there are some exceptions, there are situations, but all top players know this, not because they're intuitively brilliant, although many of them are, but also because they've done what I'm doing right now. They put the position in, they look at it, they think about it, they ask themselves what they would do, they look and see what the right play was. If they'd have done something like this and then see that they made an 8% error, they go back and they say, okay, now why is it better to hit twice? Let's look at the second position, hit final, and you can see how the position would look afterwards. Wow, that looks pretty vulnerable. I'm going to get hit twice back myself. By the way, if he rolls a 4-1, double 2, 4-2, if he just rolls a 5 and anchors on this point, I'm very unhappy. He's got a game forever. So any 5 or any 4, I'm pretty sad, plus a lot of other rolls. And let's say he rolls something silly like a 1-2. All right, so he comes in with the 1 and hits with the 2, and he's still got a pretty good offensive game, and I've got more checkers back than he now has, and or more vulnerability than he has, because he's attacking me. So there's all kinds of things that you should be thinking about in the early game. But again, can I hit? Can I make a point? Can I play safely or strategically? Keep that at the top of your mind, but don't go overboard on these hitting choice plays. Hope this was helpful to you, and I want to remind you that in the archives under BG Problems, Symborg videos, there's about 200 of these short videos, and many of them I have guest speakers like Matt Cohn-Geyer and John O'Hagan and many other really fine people helping me. So take a look through those in your spare time, and I think at any level of play you'll get some help. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a member of the USBGF, and don't hesitate to email me if you have questions or add comments at the end of this video. Bye-bye.